Hi, everyone. My name is Tina Trevino, and I am the CEO of my own fashion company called Tocaya Design. Been in the fashion industry for over 30 years. I started out as a little lowly assistant designer and eventually worked my way up to senior designer and then eventually executive design director of a company, heading up teams of 20 plus creatives and fashion designers as well. I've had my share of great learning experiences in the industry. I've gotten to work with celebrities like Brooke Shields and Wendy Williams, Nicki Minaj, Adam Levine, and I've been able to collaborate and create fashion brands for them. These days at my company, I work with a lot of iconic and well-known brands, and I help them design their fashion vision and then get it produced and shipped so that we can all be wearing the latest and greatest fashion items. I'm really fortunate to call some of my accounts and clients the people at Calvin Klein and Karl Lagerfeld and DKNY, Randy Brook, Fashion Nova, David's Bridal, New York and Company, and Fashion to Figure, BCBG, just to name a few. So as a new fashion project launch in collaboration with another company that I am the VP of, Latin Biz Today, and sharing some of this content with the students at FIT, I'll be hosting a series of fashion video segments called Latina's Fashion Chronicles. And I'll be sharing all kinds of business insight, fashion trends, styling tips, what to expect in the business of fashion, and lots of other fashion related topics. But today, I'm going to talk about something that probably isn't the first thing you'd think of when we think about the business of fashion and fashion design. What is it? Geometry. So I bet you think fashion design and geometry have nothing at all in common, right? You would be wrong. I bet that you did not know that geometry has a very integral role in fashion design all the way from start to finish. So let's first talk about what geometry means. It's actually a math concept that's been around for a very long time. And the word geometry comes from two Greek words. One, geo, which means the earth, and the second is metria, which means measuring. So the Greeks' approach to geometry has been in use for over 2,000 years, and it is currently the basis of what we know as geometry. It's a branch of math that studies sizes, shapes, positions, angles, and dimensions of things. It's the relationship of points and lines. So while this all sounds super mathematic in nature, it actually affects the creative world of fashion in many ways. Geometry is such a central part of fashion that we really can't avoid it, even if we tried to. Sometimes we don't even recognize that we're actually using it. And it's funny because when you're in school and you're learning all about geometry, you just can't quite fathom how you would use it in the real world. And we use it all the time. We just don't even think to call it math or geometry. Fashion is based on a lot of geometry principles. We use it when we create silhouettes, when we design prints, anytime we're using or talking about shapes, angles, and lines. Geometry is actually key in having created some of the most iconic prints that have stood the test of time, like polka dots, checkerboard patterns, ginghams, stripes, plaids, you name it. There's so many great patterns that you probably have in your wardrobe and you don't even realize they're based on geometry. Interesting thing is that geometric print trends tend to ebb and flow, but never really go out of style. Some are staples that can come and go with the change of seasons. For example, in the fall, we typically see a lot of plaids and houndstooth patterns. And then when we get into spring, we see a lot more stripes, ginghams, polka dots. And these are all patterns that have become very iconic to American fashion. Like we can't imagine fashion without them anymore. But aside from these kind of iconic patterns that we see every day, there have actually been some major moments of geoprint trends in our American history that are quite memorable, and I'm going to show you examples, and you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. The Art Deco design movement, which was popular between the 1920s and 1940s, was influenced by the bold geometric forms of Cubism, very bold shapes, and sometimes with a little bit of a nod to some more organic and soft shapes. The next big moment for geoprints was in the 1960s when the mid-century modern movement came along. Fashion referred to the mods, and the trend was very simple, striking silhouettes in bright colors and geometric patterns like dots, checks, and even some crazy futuristic ideas of what science and space might look like in a print. these days, what seems to be trending in my line of work, and a lot of my clients have been asking for, are geometric prints that kind of look like status prints, is what we call it. So think about like the little repeating motifs you see when you think of high-level brands like Gucci or Coach or Tory Burch. They're very simple little shapes that are repeated throughout, and they're really easy to create with Illustrator, even if you're just a novice. The motifs are so simple. So, we don't have to rely on creating highly complex geometric designs. You can just see that the basic shapes of squares, diamonds, triangles work here, and you can just play around with a simple layout. So one of the projects I just created was offering up a sampling of about 10 different designs to give to my client to choose from. So here you can see the different little geo prints. They actually chose the number 2 print, and then we popped it into a little sweater set here so you can see how it would look. And then we've assigned it actual colors from Pantone and our Chroma. So the next step, now that we have it all looking like what we envision it to be in the final outfit, is that I will have the factory that I work with create a knit down swatch. And then I'll get it over to the account, they'll approve it. And then once it's all agreed to, we'll produce samples for them. So we'll make this actual little sleeveless top and this skirt, and they'll fit them. And if they like the way they look, and we have made it at a cost that is agreeable to them and my company, then we'll actually be producing it. And the goal is that it would be turned around so that you'd be able to purchase it in August on their website. Part of what I love about what I do is this type of satisfaction of seeing a two-dimensional design get turned into a real life 3D outfit that's going to get worn. I think it just kind of goes to show you how geometry relates to the fashion business, and how you can actually take something from start to finish and really turn it into a business.